Hey there, folks. This is Chris Osborn with ReelTime Creative Learning Experiences. I am just going to record a quick segment here containing 5 pro tips for any kind of presentation or appearance that you might be making when you're appearing by webcam. In this day and age, that could be you're giving a presentation at a conference that was supposed to be live, but now it's virtual. It could be a court hearing. Lots of courts are allowing people to appear remotely and to appear by webcam to make arguments on motions so we can keep the justice system flowing. And we're conducting mediations. I'm also, in addition to a presenter with real-time creative learning experiences, I'm also a certified Superior Court mediator in North Carolina. And so we are conducting mediations in the Zoom platform in particular. And so these are just some tidbits that I found myself having this conversation with lots of different folks, and lots of folks expressed interest in, hey, how do I get my webcam right? How do I get the laptop to work? And so this is just 5 quick pro tips on that topic. So let's get started, because I'm going to try to get in and out of this quickly. First and most important thing is optimize your lighting. It sounds a little daunting, but and it's the kind of thing that either intimidates people or you just presume, oh, I mean, I can see me, whatever, it's fine. But lighting is super important. You can even see as I move kind of back and forth, and there are kind of little changes in the overall lighting of this. Basically, what you want to look for is natural light is the absolute best. I'm in my office and I have one little desk lamp on, and if I turn it off, you would not know a difference, because the natural light is what's driving this, and that is your ideal source. But you got to be really careful. You got to watch out for sources of natural light because they might be too bright. Looking over here to the left, that is a set of blinds that is closed, my friends, and it's letting in that much light. If I had my camera like this, that's a lot of brightness over there. Same way across the room in the back, that's also on the right side there, that's a closed set of blinds, and it lets through a lot of light. If that were right behind my head, it would be really, it sort of changes everything a little bit. I look kind of like I'm glowing and stuff. Also, the worst thing you can do is kind of be up in your computer kind of like this, and if there's no light around, like if it's evening time and the only thing lighting you up is the glow from your computer, it looks really creepy. And so you want to pay attention to that. Again, paying attention to your camera angle, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But very important, if you don't have a good source of natural light, that's okay. You can try the lights in the room. Just make sure they're behind the webcam, behind the laptop, not right in your face, not right beside you, because they'll make kind of weird glows. Also, if you wear glasses, you have to watch out for where your lighting source is, because you get lots of reflections here. See, if I'm looking down here and I pay attention to this, less distraction for the viewer. You can get things called selfie lights. It's like a ring light. You can get it for less than $50 on Amazon or at Staples or Office Depot, something like that. Very inexpensive. Again, pay attention to where you place them, test them out ahead of time, make sure you have the connections that you need for that. So let me move on to the next and other crucial, important thing, usually forgotten or omitted or just neglected, and that is webcam angle. Webcam angle is super important, and spoiler alert, you don't want to use whatever your normal setup is. Even if you have an ergonomically fairly comfortable setup for your laptop, lots of us just sit there and use it on our laps and we're looking down. That's bad for us in terms of posture, but it's really bad in terms of the connection on a virtual presentation. I've got my laptop the ideal position where you want it, where see I look like kind of a normal sized person talking to you. This webcam is actually an inch or two above my eye level. Normally when I'm working at my desk, it's down a little bit lower. I have one of these fans. You can get these for laptops, anything at Office Depot, Staples, and they have stackable, you can make them adjust the heights. I've actually got one of these in use, and I've got a briefcase on top of it to get higher than I normally would be doing my work, because that creates the best camera angle. And again, as I mentioned a minute ago, you don't want to be with it down in your lap. People end up kind of looking up your nose. It's a really bad angle, and it's very distracting. And what you're trying to do is minimize distractions for your online learners. On that same note, thinking about background, super important here. I've actually adjusted the angle from where I would normally type. This is not where my laptop would sit if I were actually working on it. I've got a keyboard down here that I use remotely. And I've thought about what's behind me I'm trying to minimize those light sources. I'm also trying to have it not look too cluttered. The way I live, it's hard to remove all the clutter, but you can't see what's going on and over here or over here, so you just have to kind of move the clutter out of the way. If you don't have that option, if you don't have a great setup that you feel comfortable about, or you just don't want people seeing the inside of your house, you do have another option with most webinar presentation formats. In Zoom in particular, they allow the choice of individual backgrounds, and they've got some fun ones. You've probably seen people maybe coming into a call and it looks like they're outside in orbit around Earth, or in the Roman Colosseum or something like that. They're not that hard. It's just a few little settings that you tweak to be able to do that. But pay attention to what's in the background, and particularly make sure that you're somewhere, if you do have a room behind you, that nobody's going to be coming through, pets aren't coming through, nothing that will distract you or distract the people, again, that you're trying to impart your important webinar content to. And speaking of imparting that content, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about audio quality. Audio quality is super important now. Most of our modern laptops, again, if we're sitting in a good location close enough to them, most of them will function just fine. But we have to watch out. Sometimes they don't always pick up as well. It depends on where the microphone is located on your laptop, so try to be cognizant of that. It is possible to use a headset like this. I actually tested my headset earlier today and almost used it, but it didn't sound as much as clean or distinct as some that I've used, or as this regular recording I'm doing right now, just using laptop standard microphone and speakers. Speakers, the other thing you have to pay attention to, and especially if you get instructions from either from us or from whoever you are presenting with, or whoever's getting you ready for your webinar presentation. Pay attention to whatever instructions they give you, because in some platforms you really do need to be careful about muting your computer speakers, muting other things that could pop up and ding. If you're dialing in by phone, they like you to typically dial *70 beforehand, or press the do not disturb button on your phone to make sure that you don't get some kind of call interrupt or a disruption. Power sources also, I probably don't have to say anything about that, but make sure you have your power sources connected, all that sort of thing. So you don't have to get speakers or headset, but if you have them and you're comfortable with them, they can help a lot, particularly if you're trying to do something in your home and people are going to be going by, and maybe you don't want them hearing the content, particularly in a mediation context or something like that. And finally, that is one of the other important considerations, and that's making the connection, dialing into the webinar or conference call itself. Pay attention to whatever instructions you're given, and in particular, if you can, a landline connection, and we don't really have those as much these days, but you might have at least a direct Ethernet connection to your router. Remember what those are? You basically have a cable that actually plugs in to your computer. Not all laptops have a plug that will, a hole that will accommodate an Ethernet plug. Some of them do, but you have to have a special adapter. So you need to think about that ahead of time. If that's an option for you, again, in a good location where you can sit and all your comfortable lighting and everything is available. Wi-Fi will work. You just want to make sure you have a strong signal, and you want to make sure a couple things. One, that you don't have too many other people in the environment where you are using that same Wi-Fi connection. If you've got kids who are streaming games or movies from Netflix or something at the same time, that could affect the bandwidth of your signal going out and the signal coming back in, and you want to minimize as many possible bandwidth interrupters as possible. Another piece that I didn't mention is also make sure to close out of other windows that you don't need. You can have a window up for your presentation notes or for a PowerPoint, particularly if you're screen sharing or something, but everything else, Outlook and stuff, I would recommend shutting it down so you don't get any reminders or interruptions, and also so it doesn't steal your bandwidth, because that's super important. Having all your processing speed available just to process the video and audio makes for much crisper, cleaner opportunity. And then finally, also, I'm going to pause right there. And then one other thing on connections, if you do use a headset, beware of a Bluetooth headset. I would recommend trying to use a wired connection that plugs in either into your microphone and headphone jacks in your computer, laptop, or and some of them will plug into a USB port. If you add a Bluetooth connection in, you're adding another vulnerability, another place where you might lose it. And then finally, let me give you one bonus tip, and that is if you are doing a virtual presentation, especially if you haven't done one before, This is a different environment. It's a lot harder to gauge whether you have the audience with you or not because you can't hear them. You can't see them in most cases, and you don't know if you're telling a joke, they may or not get it. You can't even tell if they're tracking with you in order to know if your points are getting across. And so one of the things we recommend, and we work with the presenters who work with us, we work on, with folks closely on this, is this is the time, if you haven't done it before, provide some visual pop. If you don't use PowerPoint, it's a time to learn to do something. I'm not talking anything fancy or crazy, but something at least that just tells the reader, like I've tried to do here, here's the topic we're talking about, here's what we're doing, something to keep their interest, reinforce the points you're making, and it just makes for an overall more visually pleasant experience. And I'm going to have a separate video coming up for those of us, for those folks who are working with us on presentations coming up on how to use some of the functionality of Zoom webinars in particular, not just the Zoom conference call, but the webinar level subscription that they have. There's some functionality that you can use, such as polling and Q&A boxes and things like that, where you can both measure and gauge your participant involvement. And so that will be something that's subject of another video. Thank you guys for listening. If you are working with real-time creative learning experiences on a presentation coming up, we are looking forward to working with you. We're excited about coaching you up and helping you have the best visual presentation you can in the two-dimensional world. If you're not working with us or you haven't before, hey, maybe it's a good opportunity. Give us a call or hit us up. There'll be some opportunities in the comments below this video. Thanks very much and happy virtual presenting.